All right, so I guess to address the one that you brought up with the JFC, there's a lot of different changes that are being done with wording in both documents. We can thank Ruth, who is the constitutional advisor, for putting in a lot of work for this. But I would say the major changes are looking at JFC structure. The two things, you mentioned the rollover. So currently, right now, the money that's left over in JFC has been kind of staying in JFC, where it's supposed to go back up to the master activities fee account and then filter back down through all the percentages, which that doesn't make any sense because it's money that's already been designated by student government to go to JFC for the purpose of group funding. So those changes I'm in support of because they're just making our documents reflect what we do. And then the other one is capital reserve, and the idea is for part of the money that goes into JFC to some of it be set aside to not be put into all the budgets of organizations, but rather allow organizations to apply to this fund to buy capital investments for their group. I think that this makes sense because it makes it a much more efficient process for JFC and their budgets, where they don't have to try to figure out each year, all right, there's going to be a huge change in their budget this year because they need to buy new equipment for their group, whereas for larger expenditures, they're able to apply to a fund to be applied to where JFC can actually discuss those individual capital expenditures and see if they're worthwhile from the student activities fee account.
Hello. So this is just sort of like a general question, and I know you were emphasizing a lot about how you're a student and you have a lot of relations and connections with students, and I mean I would hope that you are all students and have those relations with students. But so aside from that, like what sort of specific experience do you each individually have, and how do you think that will either help you or hold you back? I mean, it can go either way.
I'll briefly go on mine and hand over the mic. So for myself, being a part of student government for 3 years, I believe it's essential in the president's role so that I already have lots of relationships built with many administrators across campus. So that for our initiatives, whenever we have our cabinet, I'm the one that knows how to help them work on the projects. I'm the expert that they come to and say, here's who you need to go to, this is who you need to contact, this is how we go about making this project done. In addition, I have relationships with people in both Senate and GSA. I have relationships with almost everybody that is running for the next Senate, as well as almost every candidate that is running to be a vice president on the executive committee. So I already have working relationships with the people running right now, so that whenever I am if I'm elected and put on running the executive committee of student government, I have those relationships to help transition as well as work with those people since I have experience doing it before.
Yeah, so Jake always kindly calls me his fresh perspective, but it's really a lot about the fact that I haven't been involved in student government, because I think that I've been heavily involved in various other organizations, so it doesn't mean that I haven't heard about what's happening. Jake has been involved with a lot of things that doesn't seem to be seen by the students, while I'm hearing a lot of basic complaints from students and every committee I've been a part of. I'm heavily involved, I'm in a dance team, so I see a lot of complaints from dance teams and performance groups and issues with that. I'm part of SDC, so I'm always hearing about things from dormitory students, and I've made a lot of connections with RAs and other people that are very heavily involved in student life. Especially being the secretary treasurer, I'm always hearing about funding problems and people who are trying to find money on campus, which is always it's an issue for every single student. I've also been involved in Banger on the Berg, so I know that what it's like to throw a big event, and when it comes to PR, when it comes to throwing a big event, we became part of homecoming weekend, so I've been very involved in the revamping of homecoming and working with the Dean of Student Affairs as well. So being involved in all these different areas have connected me with very all areas of campus, even academics. Being on the CIT Community Building Committee, I work really closely with the CIT Dean's office. So receiving funding for Banger on the Berg, I got to talk to the deans of many schools. So I have made connections all over campus through being involved in those areas.
So I think I want to highlight the experience that is necessary to move forward with my platform. And First, we started with the Health Rewards program. And some experience that would help us push forward is being part of initiatives that are currently push fitness and health. So both Kelsey and I have been involved with Fitness Challenge, which is a really awesome program that they started this year. People have generally had good reception from it, and they're getting increased numbers. But also the fact that we met with Patty Stragar, the person who started the program, who has really pushed forward with it. And so when you talk about experience, you don't necessarily need a leadership role or a title to go forth and to make these meaningful connections. And I'll tell you right now, as far as the health community goes, meeting with them and pushing forward for this idea of a health rewards program gets people's attention. They don't care if you're, chair so-and-so. They care that you care about the issues. And so the health rewards program, that's how the experience that we have is just living it. Being part of the Fitness Challenge. Since freshman year, Kelsey and I have just been strong proponents of eating healthy, working out, and I think that's really important because a leader of a program like that really needs to be someone who lives it. And so second, we looked at undergraduate and graduate collaboration. What experience do I have there to push forward with that program? And I think I've heavily been involved with graduate research since a freshman, and I was part of the inaugural year of phage hunters, if any of y'all are biologists, familiar with bacteriophage. And so pushing forward as a student freshman year in research, it gives me the experience of knowing what is expected of graduate students in graduate school. And I know that it's a tremendous amount for graduate students to go forward and to do their research and to be accountable. And so they don't really have the time to sort of get super involved, or at least they feel like they don't have the time to get super involved. But my experience with working with graduate students is if they know that you're in the community, if they know that you're doing research, if they know that you are involved and interested in what they do, then that experience in itself gets their attention.
I would like to say that leadership skills come from many different sources and experiences, and it's not always just a title. As an RA, I've learned a lot about students and how students feel about things, and you gain a lot more than just leadership out of being a resident assistant. You learn how to interact with people who are having a really bad week or month, and you learn how to really build connections with people. So leadership comes from a lot of different places, and we have had those experiences that have built our leadership skills immensely.
So if I can give an example of a leadership experience that I was thinking about the other day, when addressing diversity also, which is something that we showed in our platform, I was the chair, if you want a title, for the networking event for the Hispanic Heritage Month. And I think over the years it's sort of decayed. And so the idea that when you're a student part of something like salsa, you not only hear the concerns of salsa, you also hear the concerns of the other, cultural organizations on campus. That's the experience that you need. Anyone will listen to you if you're the student body president and you have a voice, and you're willing to meet with them, and you're willing to meet halfway and have active discussion.
To avoid overlap and time, these 5 questions will be our last 5 questions. So go ahead.
Hey guys. Okay, so I'm really short, but Jake, this one's for you. So we did a lot of really awesome work in Senate this past year, but I wanted to see if you can speak further to how you increase visibility of student government on campus.
Sure, I can go into things that I did. So a big project that I worked on was something called Senate Week, and the goal of this was to address the first problem of Student Senate, and that was people knowing what our name is, right? That was goal number 1. So we did a huge publicity week where all week we were outside, we were doing events, we did like pie center in the face, and we gave out cookies, and we're doing a lot of different events where we were visible there on campus. And that culminated till the very end where we had a town hall meeting, which the entire meeting we suspended most of our normal business so that we could just sit and talk with students and get feedback, and I thought that went very well. In addition to that, I've worked, like I said earlier, with a marketing group to see, after this was done, where we stood. And that went very well, where we had done a lot of publicity and had very good numbers from our surveys that we had sent out on how much visible we were on campus that semester. Second semester, I worked with having a vice chair and a communications chair and promoting more visibility within the administration by having newsletters go out to the administration, as well as some great work done by our communications chair as of right now, Adrielle, who helped promote the gavel on a much more frequent basis that allowed for our publication to go out for people to read. In addition, we also worked with the College Caucus this year to help get more feedback and have our senators more visible within their colleges. Some of these caucuses were more successful than others. It's a program that still needs to be evaluated and needs to be improved upon, but I think the right steps have been made forward. The biggest difference between that and what needs to be done in the executive branch is there needs to be more traditional PR methods being done than I say that it's necessary with Senate. I feel like the two bodies are a little bit different, but those are some of the initiatives I've done.
People keep coming in here because there was supposed to be an exam review, but it was moved. So they looked confused, but just stare at them. Go ahead.
This question's for Jake. Like you said, you've been involved in student government for the past 3 years. You've also identified a lot of changes that you would like to make. I was just wondering how come you haven't acted on a lot of these changes in the past few years?
That's a good question. So within each role that I have had in student government, I have a very direct responsibility of what I need to do. When I was in my freshman year, I was on academic affairs. I needed to work on academic issues. Second semester, I was business affairs, where I worked solely on business-related services, where I created 2 different reports one related to health services and another one related to more financial transparency from the administration. But in those roles, I was tied to those responsibilities of what I needed to get done. As chair, my roles were more about making sure Senate could operate and function as a group and being more of an organizer role and being an active member of the exec board. That puts constraints on all what you're able to do, whereas with student body president, you're more someone who's given the responsibility to work on big campus projects, which I think is different than the roles that I've done before. So I think those would be some of the main reasons. In addition, a lot of these initiatives that we have, I've done work on them in the past. It's not just like a one-shot. You can't fix transportation in 1 year. You can't fix dining in 1 year. I've been working on dining I was on DSAC for 2 years, and there's still improvement that needs to be made. You slowly build up. You don't create a skyscraper in 1 day. You have to build it up from the foundation. So when I've been working on the foundation for the past 3 years, there's still more floors that need to be built. And that's what I'd like to do as student body president.